Welcome back. News and Talk 1380 WAOK, the voice of the community. We're still talking to Janelle King. And Janelle, you want to say something else about Nikki Haley and the Trump tweet that he sent out. And so this is what Trump said. Trump made the argument that because Nikki Haley's parents were naturalized citizens, then that would disqualify her from being president of the United States. It's the same argument conservatives tried to use against John McCain because John McCain was born in the Panama Canal Zone, and they argued that that would disqualify him from being president. So it's interesting that Trump is going to court talking about presidential qualification and disqualification, but at the same time tweeting out that Nikki Haley should not be qualified to run for president. What's your take on this?
Yeah, so no, I wanted to address the question, which was, is the Republican Party ready for an Indian American to be president? As I stated, when that tweet, I think that tweet's ridiculous. It's a bunch of nonsense that just kind of gets you off track and gets us off focus. But I just find it interesting that the question is posed to us about whether or not we are open to having an Indian American as president when the Democratic Party is clearly not open to having an Indian American as president by the name of Kamala Harris. So then on top of that, like I mentioned, you have Peter Buttigieg, who's part of the LGBTQ community, who the Democrat Party has completely embraced in a way that, where they embrace all aspects of it, not just, the decision to live that lifestyle, but they embrace being able to mutilate your children as well. And they still can't elect an LGBTQ nominee to sit in their position. So at the end of the day, why is it that we continue to get these type of questions? And that's something that you have to ask yourself. That goes back to me saying that there's a personal responsibility that falls on every single individual voter to do the research. Why are you asking us that when the Democrats are reflecting the very thing that you're projecting onto us?
Well,
So that's what I want to say about
well,
that.
a couple things. One, the reason the question is valid is, again, Tommy Tuberville running around saying that white nationalists are patriotic Americans, and Donald Trump tweeting out that she's disqualified because she's, not because her parents weren't citizens. That's kind of the reason why it's an open question, as if Republicans are ready for that. And with Kamala, it really doesn't. I think Democrats are completely fine with her being the president because they got Doug. And what we have seen is the white establishment, the Democratic Party, always likes to have an older white overseer over black candidates. When President Obama was the nominee, they made sure to put an old white guy like Joe Biden in there, so he could always point back. You go to Scranton and say, "Hey, don't worry, we got old Joe there. He's gonna take care of things. Make sure Obama doesn't get in there and get all black." And with Kamala, everywhere she goes, they have Doug standing over her shoulder, kind of creeping around in the background to make sure she doesn't do anything too black. You come down here, you do the ski wees, you go to Busy Bee, you order some collard greens, you do the cha-cha slide, but don't get over there doing too much black stuff. Doug is over here to take care of it. So I think Kamala will be fine, and President Doug will take care of the day-to-day business. And the reason that Pete Buttigieg wasn't a nominee wasn't because he was gay, it's because he was short. That's the big problem in American politics. We like big, tall, manly figures for president. President Trump does that well, kind of projecting this essence of kind of virality and authority, like that very old authoritative 1950s white dad. That's what America wants. Ronald Reagan was literally just playing the part of a president. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan were two actors that Republicans hired to play president and vice president, and it turned out pretty well for them. They still count him as being one of the best presidents. So Pete Buttigieg's problem wasn't the gay part. He was just too short and too young. If he was an older, taller, more authoritative gay man, I think he probably would have been fine. But let's not get sidetracked on
Yeah, I mean
Pete
that's
and
look, I
Chasten.
hear your opinions, but I stand on what I was saying. It had a lot to do with the fact that America, and I think the Democrats realized that America wasn't ready to put forth two husbands to represent our country on the main stage, and we've got to have that conversation. But not. I
Like I
don't
said,
want to go down the
I
rabbit
think
trail.
it's one, him being short, but also Pete by his very nature is a beta. Like Pete is not an alpha male, even when it comes to being gay guys. I know some real alpha male gay Marines who they come into a room that they could have a rainbow flag on, and you're not going to test them, you're not going to try him. I think that's going to have to be the first gay president. Pete is like just like a little nice guy who like comes and fixes your computer. I don't want Pete Buttigieg telling me that we had to, kill Bin Laden, or we're about to go to war, or the Challenger exploded. It's just not going to work. So I think that was the bigger issue, but we'll see. We'll have a gay president in the next couple of years. France just elected their first gay prime minister yesterday. Attell, he's 34 years old. He actually reminds me a lot of Buttigieg, so it's coming along. But before we run out of time, so this this issue of the Republican Party and kind of the war that's going on between it, with all the legal issues that Trump is facing, and we don't literally have time to even list them all, both civil and criminally. I think Chris Christie is running on the point that Trump might be in jail before election day. What would Republicans' plan B, or literally their plan B, be if Trump is indeed unable to either stand for office or serve in office because he's locked up because of all the felony charges against him?
Yeah, that's why have a strong component of primaries, because that's stuff that we need to consider. I don't know what the option would be. I would think that the option would be that we would lose. So if that was the case, but I will like to say that what we do know is that Trump's probably not going to get in trouble in Fulton County as long as we continue to see the affair shake out between Fani Willis and her prosecutor. So I absolutely think that as long as Democrats keep making those type of mistakes when it comes to this type of stuff, Trump's going to be all of this. And I don't think he'll be going to jail. But that being said, our side has to pay attention and make sure that we look at the holistic perspective on things. We got to have a 360 thought process when it comes to elections. And I think that starts with, getting away from this whole notion, as I stated before, that if you are holding someone accountable, if you are disagreeing, that you're somehow anti that person or anti their policies altogether. There just has to be a level of decorum that comes with understanding that we are not picking you because we feel like this is going to put us in a bad position, rather than we're not picking you because we don't like you.
Now, given the way that the Republican House is looking recently, with kind of the schism between the ultra MAGA wing of the party and the regular MAGA wing of the party, do you think the Republican Party can survive a post-Trump world? Is there a post-Trump Republican Party or GOP that can unite and actually push policy and move the ball forward for the conservative agenda? Or does the entire party collapse upon itself if Trump ends up locked up?
No, the party's not going to collapse upon itself. This is not the first time that there's been fractions in the party. I think that this is something that we have to look at. Obviously, we're in a very unique position. However, I think we'll figure it out. There are candidates and there are people that I would like to see as a candidate who has what it takes to bring in some unity. But it's going to take listening to both sides. I think that while I don't agree with all of MAGA supporters, I don't disagree with all of them either. So there's an aspect of this grassroots type of energy, this front line, we're on the front lines fighting type of energy that every party needs to have, as well as more of an administrative leadership style as well. But they have to figure out how to work together and how to pretty much manage your own lanes. My thing is, when I see people who are best suited to be an activist step into a leadership and visionary role, that's when we have a problem. So I think it's just we have to have a real conversation around, what do you bring to the table? How can we best support what you bring to the table while making sure that you're also not in the wrong lane for what you can provide? So there's going to be a lot of conversations, but I absolutely think that the party will recover. But I'll pose the same question to the Democrats. What are you going to do when it comes to the whole progressive? There's a lot of progressives that are the ones that are leading the charge that are anti Joe Biden, and that's causing a huge rift in the Democrat Party as well. So I think both parties are going to have to really look at where to go from here after the Trump and Biden era,
Well,
or I should say the Trump and Obama era.
I think actually that's the Democrats are in a better position for that, because if you look at the compromise that was made in 2020, uh, Democrats started making a transitional plan for the party. And actually, I'm going to answer that. Can you stick around one more segment and we can answer that question?
I don't have additional time, but
All right,
I would love to hear it.
I'll answer it for you off air. But I really appreciate you joining us. How can people follow you on social media? How can people listen to the show?
Yeah, so they can just search my name, Janelle King, on all social media platforms. I am J King. I'm sorry, JK is my handle. They can go to my website, allthingsjking.com. And then I think that's probably the best way to go and listen to my show and get in contact with me and all that good stuff is just to go to my website, allthingsjking.com. And I also would love to have your listeners check out our PAC, which is Let's Win for America Action, and that's lwfaa.com. That's lwfaa.com.
All right, thank you so much, Janelle King. Really appreciate it. You are the future of the conservative movement that will be able to survive Trump, and we're looking forward to it. We'll be back after the break. News and Talk 1380 WAOK.